Joaquin County Civil Service Commission, November 10th, 5:31.
Yes. Okay, roll call. Commissioner Lofstrom?
Present.
Commissioner Gutierrez?
Here.
Commissioner Piccone?
Here.
For the record, we'll show Commissioner Wander absent.
Thank you. First order of business is approval of the minutes. When you've had a moment to look at them, I'll entertain a motion. Approve.
I move that we, do we have a quorum for that? We don't.
Yeah, Chair, shoot, I was thinking we. So we'll have to table that.
Have to table this for our
Um,
December meeting.
Yes, yes. My mistake, so. And do you want to, Ms. Hopkins, do you want to take us through our schedule?
I will. Thank you very much.
I'm going to interrupt you just real quickly. Would you guys talk closely to your microphones so that those that are listening in can hear, so that we don't run into that issue like last month? Thank you. I know. We need to like hold them here.
1, 2, 3, testing. 1, 2, 3. that
Okay,
good?
Donna, if we're not, then remind us. Okay, thank you. Okay, so for our second agenda tonight, reports of disciplinary action, there are no reduction in salaries for the commission to consider tonight. There is one dismissal, RP 3001 from the Sheriff's Office with no appeal. Under subsection C, demotion, there are none. Subsection D, suspension, none. That moves us to subsection or section 3, communications. Ms. Strange, do we have any communication for tonight?
We do not.
Okay, thank you. Section 4, old business. There is no old business for the commission to consider tonight. Under section 5, new business, we do have amendments of class specifications for the commissioners to consider tonight. And our first one is classification project 19-028, Community Development Department, to amend the classification specifications for Code Enforcement Officer 1, 2, Senior Code Enforcement Officer. Rachel will give our presentation tonight.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Rachel Novetsky, Principal Personnel Analyst for Human Resources, and I'll be presenting tonight's action. I'm here to provide a brief overview of Classification Project 19-028. The study was conducted because the Code Enforcement class series, which includes Code Enforcement Officer 1, 2, and Senior, have not been updated since 1999, and they do not accurately reflect the class characteristics and typical duties of the positions. The study was conducted in accordance with standard class specification practices. To begin the classification study, the existing incumbents completed position description questionnaires, which described the duties and responsibilities of their job, and was reviewed by the Director of Community Development. Additionally, Human Resources researched similar Code Enforcement Officer classifications with our 10 comparable counties. And all this information was reviewed and considered when drafting amendments to the existing class series, and details regarding those changes are within the report. The existing duties speak to investigating zoning, general property, and abandoned vehicle violations, but this is very broad and often silent in what that may encompass, since the code enforcement officers are responsible for providing enforcement services for violations that occur under the county's development title. Violations under this title also include nuisance abatement, substandard housing, dangerous building violations, and land use violations. Based on the information obtained and gathered during the study, Human Resources found that it would be appropriate to amend the class series to articulate the full scope of violations the code enforcement officers inspect and investigate. For the Code Enforcement Officer 2 and the Senior Code Enforcement Officer, the minimum qualifications were amended to include qualifying International Code Council or ICC certifications. This will allow for overall succession planning in the department and is appropriate based on how closely code enforcement works with the Building Inspection Division. Another change to the minimum qualifications for the entire series is the addition of the PC 832 certification. The 40-hour course provides necessary training for issuing violation citations. This certification also appears to be a minimum or desired qualification for several of our comparable counties and a few of our neighboring cities who also have code enforcement classifications. Existing staff have confirmed with me that they either already have taken this course and have this certification, or that they're in the process of it and will have it within the 12 months that was included within the job changes. As is standard procedure, the recommendations were provided to the department and the incumbents in the appropriate union, which in this case was SEIU Local 1021, and all were given an opportunity to provide feedback if they had concerns prior to putting on tonight's agenda. When presented with the draft study, the department and the incumbents stated that they supported the recommended amendments. Therefore, Human Resources is recommending that the Civil Service Commission approve the recommended amendments to the code enforcement class series. This will conclude my presentation of the study, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. Additionally, I see that Eric Merlot, the Assistant Director of Community Development, is also online, as well as the incumbents themselves are present.
Thank you. I have a minor comment. Does anyone else have a comment?
Commissioner Gutierrez, can you turn on your microphone, please?
Thank you. Yes, I have one. It's minor. It has to do with just some corrections, I think, that should be made. Want me to go to them now?
Yes.
Yeah. On the typical duties, number 5, number 5. The last word there, effects, EFFECTS. That's a noun. I think you need a verb there. I think you need effects, AFFECTS.
I see that. Thank you.
And also on, I guess it's 4.6.
Oh, the one right underneath?
Yes,
Uh-huh.
yes.
Okay.
Where you have receives and so forth and so on. Then there at the end, almost to the end, it says process, probably should be processes
Got it.
with an ES. That's it, minor stuff.
Okay.
I think you did a good job. This is to make it more available, to increase the number of people that can apply for this job. That's the point, isn't it?
It's, yeah, as far as the changes to the minimum qualifications and is for succession planning, that opening it up with the ICC certification does assist. And this more accurately identifies to when we go to recruit what it is this position does.
Yeah,
So,
I
yes.
think that's a good idea. I think, I'm in favor of that.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's a good idea too. I used to work for environmental health department, and so this makes sense what the change that is being made and that should reflect it. I bring that up because it's pertinent to my comment. My comment is on page 2 of Code Enforcement Officer 1, although it's going to be on Code Enforcement Officer 2. Again, I said it was minor under new 9, old 7. It's just colloquial because what is written is may conduct joint inspections of property with public and environmental health. It's small, it just should say Public Health Services and Environmental Health Department. And then I noticed, actually, I think it's Public Health Services Department is this whole name. Anyway, just that formality. I know when you're used to using it, you don't really see it, but that's my recommendation.
Okay.
And that it be followed through.
Okay, I can make that change as well. Thank you.
Okay. Do we have any other discussion comments?
Chair, I think one of our incumbents would like to either ask a question or make a comment. Is that acceptable to you?
That is, certainly.
Okay, please come up and turn on the microphone to address the commission.
Esau Hernandez, SEIU 1021 field rep for code enforcement. I was just wondering if there was a safety and hazard assessment done along with the class study.
The safety and hazard assessment as far as when they're in the field or
Yes.
what have you?
Yes.
No, that wouldn't be included in this part of the process. Is there a concern that,
My concern is the safety aspect of our code enforcement officers, and entering and possibly not knowing what a hazard or what safety precautions may need to be taken. So I would request do something like that.
I can work with the department to ensure that there's appropriate training. And I know they also work with our law enforcement departments and in those instances as well, but I can follow up with the department on
I
that.
appreciate it. Thank you, thank you.
Okay, I will entertain a motion to accept as amended the classification.
I so move. Commissioner Gutierrez.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. No opposed? It's approved. Thank you.
Chair, before we move on, if we could note that Commissioner Wander has joined. I failed to write down the time, so I'm gonna say it was probably about 5:40, a couple minutes ago.
Thank you. And at this point, we can untable the minutes and go ahead and approve.
Yes, we
that
may.
work okay?
Yes.
Okay. So do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Yeah, I so move. Gutierrez.
I'll
All tho-
second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
It's passed. Thank you.
Thank you. Move on to our next classification project. Chair, if that's acceptable to you.
Yes.
This will be classification project number 21-021, General Services Agency, or General Services Department, excuse me, Office of Emergency Services, Healthcare Services Agency, Public Health Services, and this is to amend the class specification for the emergency planner classification.
Rachel Novetsky, Personnel Analyst. I'll be presenting this item as well. Office of Emergency Services requested that HR update the existing emergency planner classification. This classification has not been updated since 1993. It is a single class allocation, and it possesses some language that no longer applies. Human Resources also took the opportunity to ensure the overall class characteristics and typical duties minimum qualifications accurately reflect, since it has not been reviewed since 1993. The study was conducted in accordance with our classification practices, and to begin the study, HR worked with both the Deputy Director of Office of Emergency Services and the Public Health Services Department leadership. Draft class specification amendments were provided to the departments for review and feedback, and details regarding those that review and the changes are provided in your report. As stated in the report, all language related to hazardous materials emergency response have been removed, as these situations are handled by the hazardous materials specialists in the Environmental Health Department. Amendments also include statements that reflect the role of the emergency planner with the development, coordination, and training associated with emergency planning at various levels, and the position's role with the Emergency Operations Center, EOC, as well as their role with the community and professional groups and committees and task force. The study recommendations were provided to the department heads and the appropriate union, which in this case was also SEIU Local 1021, and were all given an opportunity to provide feedback prior to placing on tonight's agenda. When presented with the draft study report, the department supported the recommendations for the amendments. Therefore, it is our recommendation that the Civil Service Commission approve the recommended amendments to the emergency planner. I am available for any questions, and Shelley Lima from Office of Emergency Services is here, as well as Shadi. I can't see her last name this far away, but a representative from Public Health Services is here.
I have a couple of comments that aren't minor in my opinion. Do we have any comments from anyone else on the commission first? Any other commissioners?
I do not.
Okay, we can move to under emergency planner, the track changes version, typical duties, the very first one. And I'm glad the representatives are here because I don't think this is something that you're going to be able to respond to. So my concern is with the word, my concern is with the very first sentence, develops, recommends, and maintains emergency response and operating plans, policies, procedures, and regulations by utilizing state and federal regulatory guidelines and requirements. where I got hung up is if you take out some of those words, you're saying that one of their duties is to maintain regulations. And I am talking to the people up there, I know. Regulations aren't maintained. I mean, so that's my concern.
So more appropriately would probably be that they enforce the regulatory requirements for emergency services.
Yes, if that's what they do. I was trying to figure out what they actually do, and I don't know I don't know it, and I was thinking, well, maybe they meant to say ensure compliance with the regulations, and then I thought, well, maybe they don't actually ensure compliance with the regulations. So it got a little complicated as I was trying to figure it out. So yeah, that language needs to be looked at and addressed.
Shadi or Shelley, Shadi, if you want to unmute your microphone, if there's anything you'd like to share with the commissioners.
Okay, it is enforced, that they enforce the
Oh,
regulation. Yeah.
then that's easy. If they have the ability to enforce, then yes, you can just say that ensure county regulations are in compliance or something like that. Okay. So that was the first one. The second one is on the education. I understand taking chemistry out, removing chemistry because the hazardous materials requirement is no longer there and it's being handled by EHD. But I don't understand not having a science degree included as a potential. We've got public business administration, liberal arts, journalism, communications are closely related field. And it seems like a big absence to me not to have science. And you're shaking your head. So you want to tell me?
I'm Shelley Lima, Office of Emergency Services. We really don't believe that a chemistry or a science degree is required. What is the science and arts? Bachelor of Science is typically part of a management degree or liberal arts or something to that effect. Most of the things that are done in this line of work have to do with reading a regulation, reading a state guidance, reading a FEMA guidance. We do a lot of work with FEMA. We'll go out in the only field work that we do is information sharing, management of resources, coordinating efforts and things like that. There isn't a requirement for the chemistry side, and that's why we took out that science degree, because there isn't a statement that says or other similar, and we felt that that would be enough.
Okay, so I mean, I understand the chemistry. So in my background, I've not been an emergency responder myself, but I've had a lot of training in it. And I've worked closely with it. And so many of the people that I know that would qualify for this position have science degrees. So it just seems like you're
not emergency responders. That's part that is
well,
kind of difficult for people to understand.
Well, I understood that.
Yeah,
That
the management side.
Yeah, I read it very carefully, and I did understand what they're doing. That they're doing the policy and doing the plan. I still think a science background with the right experience is such an excellent background. I just can't see.
I would
not
open, if
May I
Shadi wants to add as well. Shadi is over public health side. They do a very similar in nature thing that we do. So Shadi might have a little bit more to say as well.
May I comment? This is Gutierrez. I don't think she's saying that it has to be a requirement.
Right.
It's that it's opened up the field for someone that has that can apply for it. And I think you're right. Someone with a science background, who also is very good at communication and so forth, would be all right for the job if they could qualify in other ways. She's not saying it's a requirement. She's saying that if they have that degree, that they should be allowed.
Not mentioning the fact that science is included, it doesn't change the fact that they could have that degree and still apply. So I don't see a reason for it. It's just adding more restrictions that prevent more people from applying. If somebody wants to apply and science isn't there, but they have some information, some education in science, they can still apply without it being there.
They can, but I know, I mean, this job description fits
Commissioner,
me to a T.
I
Yes. She's trying to answer?
want to let Shadi also answer before
Please.
we debate in case she has some very useful information for this
Thank you for
discussion.
pointing that out.
I can see the screen. Shadi, is there anything you'd like to add?
Hi, Commissioner. Thank you so much for allowing me to speak.
Tell her to speak up
Can you hear
Shadi, can
me?
you speak up a little bit?
close to the mic.
Can you hear me?
Barely.
It's very low.
Tell her to speak slow.
Robert's trying to turn the speaker up, but if you can speak loudly, we won't think you're shouting.
Well, it seems like I have some technical issues. Is it more clear?
Yes.
Thank you. And thank you, commissioners, for allowing me to speak. I see both points, and I agree by opening the job qualifications to people who have a science background and also have achievements in communication could expand our pool. But like what Shelley mentioned, this position requires an immense amount of writing and writing capabilities and understanding the policies. That's why we were inclined to have it more expanded on the liberal arts and communication and business degree to expand our.
I would like to add that keeping the or closely related field in there would mean that they still having that background, a degree with that background, it would be something we would screen in. It wouldn't be a screen out.
Well, yeah, that I thought, I just know that I would be perfect for this job. I really would. I've got this background. Except if I saw that, even with the closely related field, I would think it meant closely related field to the business administration, the liberal arts, that, and so it would stop me from applying. And if it would stop me from applying, there are other people that have this well-rounded background that it just seems to me it like Ms. Shadi was saying, it would open it up. And just from my personal experience of seeing people in this kind of job, and I know it's a policy job, but some scientists can write and communicate well, and I think you're making a mistake by not specifying it there as an acceptable degree.
I think my biggest concern is like Rachel said, I want to open it up so more people will apply, because that's been our problem. Whenever they see chemistry, they're not applying for the position because they think they need a chemistry job. And it did have a few other requirements in there that were taking candidates out that probably would have been really good at doing the job. So our goal was to open it up to get more people that are qualified to even become candidates, to make it beyond HR's screening. Yes.
Well, I'll make one more push for it, because I think if you have all those other things and then say, and science, not chemistry, because chemistry you're right, that will intimidate a lot of people. But science, not so much. I think you'd open it up, but that's what I think strongly.
I don't have an issue with it. As long as it's not specific to chemistry, I don't have an issue with us putting just in general science or closely related field. I just, I don't want it to be so specific that people feel like they have to have a scientist background, so to
Right,
speak. Yeah.
right. I think it's clear you don't, but that it's acceptable is the way I see it.
If I could take the other position from the chairperson, I would sit back and use her own argument and say that there's probably more people in this world who would shy away from this because it mentions science than those people who would shy away because it doesn't mention science, because more people have a liberal arts background than they do science background. And you're again limiting the potential for people to apply. And when science isn't required to do the job, then why mention it at all? And people who have science are going to still apply because it can't hurt. But being involved as a department head for a long time, the inability to hire people because of the inappropriate minimum qualifications is paramount and tantamount to the department functioning appropriately. And I think if we make more restrictions on minimum requirements, then we prevent more people from applying, and the department can't do their job.
How is it a restriction on a minimum requirement? It says you can have you need a bachelor's degree, is what it's clear from a university in public or business administration, liberal arts, journalism, communications, or science. How is that restricting?
Because the science aspect of it may prevent people from applying because they don't have any background in science. And so you minimize the potential for people to apply because they see science as a needed as a potential necessary item to be included in this. I think what we're talking about is semantics. Nothing's required. I understand what you're saying. So if nothing's required, why include it? Why make it a difficult proposition for somebody who's applying?
Then why not just say education, graduation from a 4-year college in a related field?
Because based on what she was saying, they have a need to be able to write well and to write often, so that background in those areas become important.
I agree with the chairman. I think that it opens up more than it closes. And it doesn't, I think, close people. I mean, if people sees that you can have a liberal arts degree and apply for it, they'll feel very welcome to apply for it. Someone has a science degree and they're very good at communicating, or they had jobs in communication like so many scientists now do. I think they'd be encouraged to apply for it too. So I agree with the chairperson's position.
So I need some help here because I wasn't even sure this was totally appropriate for me to bring up. And so now I need to know.
We're here to receive all of the
Okay.
commissioners' thoughts on the work product in front of you.
Okay.
If adding general sciences or sciences is something that the commission is interested in doing, it would need to be included in the motion, I believe. I'm looking at our council, and then we would include it in the job spec if it was approved in the vote.
Okay, thank you. So with that, I think it depends on who makes the motion. I'll entertain a motion.
So one more question.
Sure.
So instead of having that in minimum qualification, so we can add maybe in preferred qualification, something like that, right? So preferred qualification, like we can add chemistry or science there. So whoever have the science degree, so they get a little bit edge on that.
So I do believe that if we used it as a preferred, that candidates would read that as they really needed to have it, that it was preferred over all of these other ones that are listed. So I do think that might not accomplish what several of our commissioners are bringing forward tonight.
I agree with that. I think that's correct. And I can understand, especially where chemistry would disturb people, but then also they would have been disturbed by the whole hazardous materials aspect that has been removed now too. So I'm open for a motion from someone.
Yeah, I will move that we include the language that you're referring to about a science degree included in there, but not required, but just in there so that we open up field to more people.
But if we add it, then it's required, right? So if we add it, then it's required, right? The chemistry?
No, it's
No, it's not
one of
required.
many.
Okay.
So
one
you
of
can,
many.
you can have, I mean, if you go, you're at education, right? You can apply for this job, you can qualify for it if you have a degree in public or business administration. That's it, you're qualified. Or if you have a liberal arts degree, which means anything, right? Liberal arts. And
Liberal arts does include sciences too.
it does. So it is a big one. You can have a degree in journalism and meet the requirement. You can have a degree in communications and meet the requirement, But as written, if you have a degree in science, that's not one of the ones that qualifies you, although there is the closely related field there, language. And we do have a motion on the table. It should also probably include the earlier, had an earlier one too, and I think there was no objection to that. Oh, about changing the ensure adequate. So as amended with specifically with this
Yes,
science language, maybe something like that.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do we have a second for that? Looks like we have no second, and so now we need a new motion.
Can I ask a question of the science degree just to help me understand?
Sure.
What does a science degree would allow, how much of a science degree is similar to, say, a bachelor's degree in management or communications or journalism? How close are those skill sets? Because I'm not familiar with what a science degree would give other than the ability to do a lot of work in the field. And is it geoscience? Is it all of these other types of science? Or is it, if I make myself clear?
You are, and what happens in the world of hazardous materials management is that people that have science degrees are doing a lot of the work, but then many of them gravitate towards other things. And the more communication, they become public, I just forgot the word, but like a public affairs officer, there's the opportunity to branch out from a science degree and do all these other things. And again, it's my own personal experience, but it's pretty extensive. I've known a lot of people with science degrees who've gone into this public policy sort of position, and particularly with I know it's not emergency response, but with the policies of this sort of nature. So it isn't so much that the science degree particularly prepares you for this, as people with science degrees often you'll find have this experience that you're looking for.
If it will not keep people from applying for the position who may be qualified, I'm for it. And imagine Shadi would be.
Correct, it would not.
Well, I think we've moved on.
Oh, we're all done?
I asked for a motion and it didn't get seconded. So now we're going to ask for a motion to approve as amended with just the first amendment that I suggested.
If I can ask Mark, could we redo the motion as it was originally? Because now they're agreeing that that's okay with them, or is that too late?
With the consent of the chair, you can reconsider the motion.
Okay, so.
Excuse me, Chairperson, can we ask Shadi what her opinion is on at that point then? Is she there?
Patty, yes,
Yes.
it looks like she's off mute. Can you weigh in, please?
If I understand this correctly, we would like to move with putting the language about the general science degree back in.
Correct.
I agree with that.
Thank you.
Okay, then I will make a motion that we accept the recommendation as to approve and adopt that the Civil Service Commission is, that the HR is recommending, with the additions of changing the word maintain and also adding an or for the science. And I'm doing that because the people who are involved are agreeable.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. We'll have a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oppose? Okay, the motion passed.
Thank you. We have our third classification project for tonight, number 21-027. This is for the Healthcare Services Agency, Public Health Services, and it's to amend the classification specification for public health educator.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Nicole DeVincenzi. I'm a personnel analyst with San Joaquin County Human Resources. On behalf of the Director of Human Resources, I'm here to provide a brief overview of classification project CP 21-027, which proposes amendments to the public health educator specification. In February of 2019, Public Health Services requested that HR conduct a review of the education qualification for the public health educator classification. The department has experienced recruitment difficulties in the form of small candidate pools and felt that a review and amendment of the qualifications would help widen the pool of candidates. The accrediting body for public health educators is the Council on Education for Public Health. After a review of CEPH's list of accredited masters in public health programs, Human Resources made the recommendation to remove the reference to the specializations of public or community health education. The department agreed that doing so would enhance recruitment efforts and also provide an opportunity to have a staff of public health educators with diverse public health disciplinary backgrounds. In addition to the qualification amendment to the job spec, language for ADA compliance, including physical and mental requirements, have also been added to the class specification. Public Health Services was presented with the draft job specification and supports HR's recommendations. SEIU was notified of our intent to present this study at tonight's meeting, as well as provided a copy of the specification and did not respond with any objections or concerns. At this time, HR is requesting that the Commission approve adoption of the amended public health educator classification. I'm happy to answer any questions you have, and I also have representatives from the department here as well.
Thank you. You'll be relieved to know I myself have no questions. Any other commissioners?
I have no questions.
I don't either.
All right. Okay, then we can move forward with a motion to approve this classification project.
I'll make the motion to approve this classification 21027.
I have a second.
I'll second.
I'll
Connie will
vote.
second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. The motion passed.
Thank you.
Okay, back to our agenda.
Thank you,
The
Chair.
Next item.
We do not have any adoption of class specifications for the commission tonight, nor do we have any classification studies or staff reports. For subsection E, request for appeal hearings, we do not have any request for appeal hearings under Rule 3, classification, Rule 18, dismissal, suspension, demotion, or reduction in pay, or Rule 19, violation of rules. We do not have any other requests this evening. And under section 6, set dates of appeal hearings, we do not have any appeal hearings to set tonight. This moves us on to public comment. Ms. Strange, do we have any public comment tonight?
There is no public comment.
If we have any public comment in the audience, this will be the time for you to do so. Persons wishing to address the Civil Service Commission are asked to limit their total presentation to a maximum of 5 minutes on each issue. Is there anybody in the audience that has any public comment this evening? Seeing none, we can review our future meeting dates. Our next Civil Service Commission meeting is set for December 8th, 2021, here in the Administration Building at 44 North San Joaquin Street, room 146. You can also see the commission meeting dates for 2022 have now been set. So these again continue once a month, January 12th, February 9th, March 9th, April 13th, May 11th, June 8th, July 13th, August 10th, September 14th, October 12th, November 9th, and December 14th. I think this is the first time the commission's seen the calendar for 2022.
I'd like to let you know that on June 8th, I will be out of state, so I'd like to be excused for that meeting.
Thank you for letting us know.
Yes.
Well, as long.
Excuse me?
It's not enough leave time. We
And
need more notice, please.
I will be unavailable for the July 13th one as well.
Okay.
It's a paid vacation. It's fully paid, so I have to go. Unless COVID comes back.
we'll go with it's not going to.
Yeah, it's already ruined 2 vacations for me.
We do not have any appeal hearings for the public tonight, which moves us on to closed session. The commission does have 2 closed session items tonight. The first one is under California Government Code Section 54957, and this is a consideration of a Rule 20 discrimination request for appeal. And there are 2 individuals from the Auditor Controller's Office. And our second is under California Government Code Section 54957, consideration of a fitness for duty 1 for the Sheriff's Office. So we will move to closed session, and we will report back the outcome after closed session.
We are now back in open session. For the first concern, the commission has determined not to allow an evidentiary. Thank you.
The Rule 20
Not just the
appeal.
first. Any concern? Determined not to allow an
The Chair, the second item for closed session was the consideration of a fitness for duty for the sheriff's office.
and we have nothing to report out from that.
Thank you. You may adjourn the meeting.
Is adjourned.